Hi everyone, good afternoon to all of you. Uh, the session that we have for today is emerging technology trends in e-commerce logistics. I think we have a wonderful panel and I'm sure it's going to be very exciting for all of you to get engaged. But before even we start, I thought it's important to understand the industry a bit more in detail, right? So if you look at the e-commerce industry that we have in India, it's currently pegged at 84 trillion rupees in terms of valuation. And out of that, roughly 3.7 percentage is the e-commerce that we have, right? But if you look at the CAGR for the next 4 or 5 years, it is astounding to see that the CAGR is around almost 25%. And why do we all believe that the growth in this industry is promising and not something which is theoretical? Three main reasons. One, I think we are spending almost 5 to 7% in terms of online buying in India, compared to the growth markets, compared to the markets like US and China, where it is as high as 30%. So we have a very high headroom to actually grow. Second is, I think, the GDP per capita, which is what drives the online spending. Again, we are seeing a lot of growth happening, government, otherwise, and we believe that that is going to go up further, which will also drive our online spending. And third and not the least, I think with many initiatives as promised by the government, like ONDC as one of them, we believe that the e-commerce sector is actually bound to grow, right? So that is on the positive side of the industry. But we also know that the industry has a lot of challenges, right? Where we are currently, seeing a lot of these challenges across multiple parts of the value chain, supply chain in the industry. And we wanted to basically, if I can use the word challenge ourselves in terms of the panel, to understand how can technology, whether it's digital or analytics, be leveraged to address some of these challenges, right? So I'll go one by one, and I'll request our esteemed speakers and panelists to come forward and share their perspectives on that. So the first challenge that we all see and believe that the delivery cost and the lead time in India for this industry is quite high. So maybe to share more perspectives on this and to talk about, I would say, the technological trends that we are leveraging, I'll request Ankeet. Sorry.
So very pertinent question, Kiran. If I look at supply chain cost and what is it that, or how is it that technology can help us reduce that cost and increase the speed, I'll put it in three parts. One, if I look at, the warehousing bit, which is a substantial cost, the biggest question that we need to answer is, where do I stock? Where do I keep my warehouses? How much do I stock? Which SKUs do I store at which place? Because it sounds very, very simple, but we're talking about some 90,600 pin codes as per the Indian Postal Services. We're talking about at least 40 to 50,000 SKUs for each of the e-commerce players. Now, if you multiply that, it's very, very cumbersome for any individual to do it. And that's where the first piece of technology comes in, which is using AI and machine learning, have self-learning models which can give us that forecast, which can help us decide where do I keep my warehouse. Because the moment and where do I keep my inventory? If my inventory is closer, of course my speed is lesser, is better. The time taken is much, much lesser. The cost is lesser because the goods are traveling lesser distances. The sizing of warehouse, of course, is also decided by that. So that's first piece of technology where we need to look at how do I improve my forecasting, how technology can enable that. And I've seen in my past organization as well as current one, we've seen significant contribution in terms of cost purely by improving our forecasting using the machine learning and self-learning models. So that's the first piece. Second piece, I think, is the transportation. If we look at right, the optimizing the routes. 7, 8 years back, we were talking about, a route optimizer. We used to have static routes defined for each location. We're now moving to more dynamic routing, depending on the order pattern that has come in. How do I optimize my vehicles? How do I optimize the routes that we create so that we are faster as well as we are more predictable and lesser in terms of cost? So these are two pieces which sounds very, very simple, but I think are very, very critical and very challenging, one of the biggest challenge for the entire e-commerce industries that's there. The third piece, I believe, is the cost of poor quality, right? So when I talk of cost of poor quality or cost of failures, we're talking about incorrect goods being sent out, wrong products, not not in the right condition. So those are the kind of things that happen, which increases the returns, damages, etc. If the right kind of packing is not used. So how do I eliminate that? This is the piece which is probably the most expensive or more capital intensive when to implement, because when we're talking about removing these human errors, we're talking about automation, and hence it's capital intensive. So we need to look at what are the kind of warehouses or what are the size of warehouse that I can automate. And where is it that without automation, what is the technology that I can use to eliminate these errors? Image analytics is one which we're trying to utilize in some of our distribution centers, which will help us identify in real time if a human error is made, right? So that's something which is very, very critical, because the cost of a failure or poor quality is far more than what we envisage right now. So these are three things that I believe in terms of cost are going to be big for us. They are big currently as well as in future.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Ankur. Thanks a lot. I think we also have seen that while the NLP was launched year back, 2022, there the cost of logistics as a percentage of GDP is around 14-15%, whereas the developed nations it's around 8%, right? Switzerland or Sweden or Europe. And one heartening fact which I came to know recently is that we have actually moved from 14% to 12% now, right? So that is, we are on the right track, and as Ankur rightly mentioned, we should look at more of technological trends to solve this problem of cost and lead time. Yeah, so that was one. I think the second area which we believe is one of the biggest pain for the e-commerce players is returns management, right? So to talk about it, I would like to request Amit from Delhivery to speak a few words on this.
Sure. I would club, fraud along with the returns, primarily because, India has basically in COD parcels anywhere from 15 to 25% of return rate for variety of e-commerce companies. And when you refuse to accept a parcel that you had ordered, you are effectively breaking a promise that you made to the seller at the time of placing an order, which is kind of a fraud. Now, we have asked ourselves why does this fraud happens, or in what forms and shapes this fraud or non-fulfillment of the promise made happens. I think it happens at the leg of some shippers. There are some shippers who would, purposefully place fake orders, knowing that they'll be returned. There would be customers who would place orders with fake addresses, bogus addresses that they'll do. I think there are even participants in the last mile who would do it, possibly knowing that they'll be the one who'll earning more by attempting those parcels, maybe delivering it and then returning it. There could be an avenue to make logistics fee as a, or there could be just to pilfer the shipments. And then there is a general return that happens, a true return that happens because customer found a better price elsewhere, or customer actually had a change of need, he bought it offline. or he accepted the parcel and then he had to return it for a variety of reasons. There are a bunch of things that are must for the industry to do. And in our experience, these things have worked very well. First is the, removing all of the participants in the industry we figure out with low fidelity, whether it is, sellers who show abnormally high returns, whether it is customers who show abnormally high returns, or whether it is the delivery riders who show abnormally high returns or defects in what they are supposed to do. So that is one area where we have invested a lot of money and we have seen very good returns. Based on the same thing, we have produced tools such as RTO Predictor. This is called Return to Origin Predictor. And it's open for pretty much every customer of ours to API integrate with us. Using this, you can parse through the data and know a probability that that product will be not accepted by the consignee. Now, a bunch of companies are using it to, not cancel the order necessarily, but to introduce some interventions on how they can validate whether the order is genuine order, whether the customer actually wants it, or they would want some part payment upfront for the order. So those are certain important things which are important from reducing the absolute return rate in the industry. Second part comes for the true returns that happen in the industry where typically customer accept a parcel but has tried the product and it doesn't fit, it doesn't look good, or he wants to now return it. There are basically two friction points in this value chain. One is of actual product being reverse picked and being delivered to the seller. Okay, so let's say you ordered a green T-shirt from UCB of UCB brand, and whether that same exact T-shirt, green T-shirt, UCB of same price point is getting returned to the shipper. That's the first friction. Now, because of this friction, there is a number of days that will take for goods to go back from origin to the from the pickup point to the seller. There is a lag in the refund for the consignee, which is very hard when you are buying things in a busy life, keeping track of what refund you have got or not got, right? So these are the two friction points. What we have done on the first part is basically, done integration with catalogs of customers so that our pickup agents know exactly what product to pick up. And then we have made it a more objective method of, capturing certain characteristics of the product that we know from the image of the catalog and asking our riders certain questions, pickup boys questions on what characteristics or how do they quantify those characteristics based on, like, for example, number of buttons that could be there in the T-shirt or a shirt, or, is there any lining or not? Based on these things, what is the brand name on it? So those are the characteristics we have introduced for them to make it a more objective process of identifying that this is the same product that they are supposed to pick it up. This avoids any, disputes with the shipper or the seller at the time of actually delivering it back to them. When we are able to successfully do this, I mean, we have already done this quite well so far. What this allows us to do is to offer a premium product on reverse pickup, where shippers can issue instant refund based on the promise or on the confirmation that we have actually picked the product in the catalog, right? So instead of taking like a week for customers' money to come back to their bank account, shippers can issue an instant refund same time as we actually confirm that the right product has been picked up. So these are the very important things that we are doing to reduce the return and refund timeline and improve the efficiency of the process.
Thank you, Amit. Yeah, I think maybe the third one, which we all quite resonate with, is the customer experience. It is a B2B, a B2C, right? And we have been seeing Amazon, Flipkarts of the world, and we know what does it mean, right? So, but but when we interact with the delivery boy, it is more like a 1 minute or 2 minute interaction. But when I spoke with Zaiba last evening, we understand that there's an entire science of technology, science of things being done in a very different way to ensure that the entire experience of that 1 minute is actually quite fruitful, right? So can I request Zaiba to share a few thoughts on this?
Sure. So to discuss customer experience, I will quote Amazon Jeff Bezos here. So he said, in the offline world, 30% of the company resources can be utilized in creating great customer experience and 70% goes in the market. But in the online world, 70% of your company resources should be spent on creating great customer experience and 30% should be about shouting about the product, etc. There is a research which says, survey in fact, 85% of the buyer are not repurchasing from the brand if they had a poor delivery experience. So to achieve the delivery experience, I will divide this answer into 3 segments. Pre-shipping, shipping and post-shipping. So in pre-shipping era, initially before using certain technology or tools or system, the D2C brands or e-commerce sellers were using manual effort, like they were calling customers to do an order verification, and since they were not able to reach to the customer on time, they were not able to dispatch the product in the same day or the next day. So they have to wait for the customer verification or confirmation to dispatch the order. Now with the tools or system, they can do our order verification instantly. Once they have received the order, they can shoot out a WhatsApp notification or IVR calling. Order confirmation will happen within a second. By doing all of this, they were able to reduce the dispatching time to 40, like initially it was around 24 to 48 hours timeline. Now it has been reduced to 12 hours to 24 hours. So this is the first experience where pre-dispatching, the customers are able to get the notification or the updates like their orders are getting dispatched on time. If they are dispatching the orders on time, the delivery timeline will be lesser and customer will have a great experience. Now, the second point, which is very, very important, that is your shipping, which we call as a dispatch part. So in the dispatch part, you have to think for a partner or logistic partner who is performing well on that specific pin code. So there are systems available like recommendation engine that help you to choose the right partner which have a great serviceability or performance on that specific pin code. There are n number of criteria or algorithm which are involved to identify like which partner is performing well on that pin code. So let me give you an example. There is a pin code called 40067, which is a Mumbai ka pin code, which is served by all of the logistic partner, like 4-5 top logistic partner. But it will get assigned to one logistic partner who has performed well. There are parameters like it check for their delivery performance. It's also check how fast their pickup timings are there. What is their FAD conversion, first attempt delivery conversion? How quickly the delivery boy is able to reach out to the customer. So there are n number of parameters. How quickly they are communicating, what messages the brands or the carriers are shooting to reach out to the customer. This comes to their dispatch part. And in the same, once the shipment has been picked by the carrier, the another very important challenge comes your last mile delivery, where the brand faces a major challenge. I believe Amit have already spoken about. In India, still people are preferring COD as in cash on delivery mode of payment, and we are facing or we are seeing 15 to 20% return in that part of COD order wala issue. So how can we mitigate by, what we have understood in this journey is there is a small communication gap between the carrier and the buyer. So there are tools or systems available which help the brands to reach out to the buyer when the orders are first attempt or second attempts are failed to get the shipments delivered. So again, they start communicating with the buyer and ask for their preferences. If they are available to accept the delivery now, they want to reschedule, they want to change the delivery address, etc., can happen without any manual intervention. It can be done with the automated process or automated system, etc. Now, the third part is your post shipping, which is also a very important factor to give a great customer experience to your buyer. So you can, once the shipment is dispatched from your warehouse or your retail unit or outlet, you can start communicating to the customer on their status update. You can give them a branded tracking page, which will be looking like your own. It will give a sense of connectivity to the tracking page. This is a studies or survey again, which shows maximum pages a customer visits is a tracking page. So brands can use their tracking page to attract the customer by giving them different cross-selling or upselling products on their tracking page. They can update them. In fact, they can take a feedback or net promoter score on the tracking page itself. There are features available which can help the customer to review the delivery experience also. So all of this information is clubbed together to make sure the customers of a brand gets a great customer experience altogether. Last one line I would say here. In e-commerce, there are only two important core elements. First one is the logistic, like technology, and second one is the logistic. Without these two elements or core fundamentals, e-commerce is nothing. So that is what my thought is all about in customer experience.
Thanks a lot, Zaiba. Thanks a lot. Very, very informative and quite interesting. We'll complete the fourth challenge that we all know in India, last mile. Right, I think no matter what technology we have seen so far, which covers the first mile, second mile, typically the last mile is where we have seen a lot of struggles happening, whether it is B2B or B2C. Right, so how can technology be leveraged here is something that we thought will be useful to the entire audience. So I'll request Ankeet to share his thoughts.
Yeah, I think, so last mile, a lot of the speakers here also talked about their challenges, but I'll talk mostly from a technology provider perspective, as we provide technology as MapmyIndia to the logistics partners or sometimes to also the shippers themselves. And what we see and how they use it and what are the trends that are changing across last mile. So last mile is, I think, one of the most critical parts of the chain, of the supply chain. And that's what's enabling like all of us to receive our goods like very fast or 10-minute delivery or same day, all of that, right? And often a lot of the technology provided in that in that leg is extremely complex. I think Amit and Ankur and all of you guys can agree to the fact that the number of variables that come across keep changing and they're ever evolving. One of the variables that we also talked about yesterday was safety. Correct. Right? That's the human element. I think all of us do consider, Delhivery and Geomart and massive organizations consider traffic and all of the other experiences, like what is the customer's slot preferred time of delivery. There are so many more parameters. But another parameter is safety. Right? So safety for the rider and preferences for the rider itself, which is, is there a route that has lesser risk? Is there a route that has restroom along the way? Right? So as you optimize the routes, as you build all of that, there are things that we have solved for shippers, where we consider these more human elements also as a technology provider. Other than the plain and vanilla, we need to reach on time, we need to reach fast, we need to finish more in less, and then keep on optimizing the network as we keep getting more volume of orders and stuff like that. Another angle of the last mile that's changing very fast is EVs. I think the adoption is still been kind of, maybe still going up. But as that comes into the entire last mile delivery experience, there might be cost benefits that will accrue to a lot of the last mile delivery providers, but also the entire technology stack also changes in very fundamental ways. Because now the another factor that you need to consider is, how much battery is left, and how much can the rider do in that particular battery charge that's left, and also where are the charging stations, right? So you need to consider those parameters. That is there enough infrastructure in this city that I should have EVs, right? Probably the answer right now, Ankur and Amit would say is no. That's why the infrastructure needs to increase. But after that, after it does, I think there's a whole new gambit of technology that will decide, what the routes are, and what actually the driver does, and also what the driver does on their own, to charge the whole vehicle, which is another role in it together. So as MapmyIndia, we have solved some of these problems. When you come into the EV space, there is a different navigation solution for electric vehicles itself, which considers charging. And there's a different route planning solution, again, that considers, where the charging stations are. So I think these are the next, levels of what we will see in last mile. And like I also mentioned the safety element, which is super critical, which I think there is no standard or there's no policy for it. But I think a lot of the conscious ridden last mile providers do, think about, okay, how do we make the person who's actually delivering their lives better? So I think these are, and it's all technology, because I think finally the rider is bound to do everything basis what the technology is telling you to do. If the technology had a softer side to it, it would also take his, his or her needs into consideration as the delivery is happening. So yeah, that's a
Great.
high-level idea about it.
Sure, sure. No, great, Ankeet. Thanks a lot for this insight. I think, folks, what we have done is, we have taken a challenge view to understand the technology trends in this space, right? There are multiple views. One can say, okay, list the top 10 digital or analytic solutions that the industry is using. That is number one, right? Number one view. Number two is, we thought instead of draining the entire audience in terms of what is automation, what is AI, what is automatic pick and place, what is cross-docking, what is control tower, etc., we thought let's take the industry from a challenge perspective and understand how each of them is solving those challenges using technology.